What's up, guys? It's the Chinist. Today is November 9th, Thursday, the day after New Comic Book Day. I have my haul here of 18 total comics. So yeah, sorry about that, guys. I went off to a quick Boston trip, and I did grab a few comics out there, and I will show those off at the next back issue haul that I have. So yeah, in addition to that, I'm going to also start breaking up my stack into the different publishers that I picked up for that week. So on that note, starting off with DC, we have Batman Lost. So yeah, everything in regard to the metal, in my opinion, the metal title has been, awesome. This is a great, cross event that DC has put on, in my opinion. I understand that some people feel they're a little bit burned out on Batman right now. He's kind of like in everything in DC, but man, if the stories are done correct, I will not get burned out in any way. So yeah, man, this one's pretty cool. So I have not gone through this stack. Sorry, it came in last night about 11:30, so I kind of picked these up this evening. So I understand that this one kind of goes all the way back to where when Bruce Wayne was the return of Bruce Wayne, to where when Darkseid at the very end of Final Crisis, Darkseid, everyone thought that he had killed Batman, but he actually time displaced Batman, going all the way back to where humans started out. So this kind of ties back into when Bruce Wayne went back into time, and man, it's so cool how they're kind of tying like every single story arc that Batman has ever had, throughout these decades, really tying it all together by Scott Snyder. Man, he has done an excellent job on the storyline. So yeah, Batman Lost. On that same metal note, we get into part 3 of the Bats Out of Hell. This one crosses over into the Hal Jordan Green Lantern's Corps. I normally do not pick up Green Lantern. I was going to try to pick those up in trade and kind of read it all the way through, once there's about like 5 trades out or so. I love what Jeff Johns did with Green Lantern, and I kind of stopped, at the end of the New 52 run. So yeah, I have not really picked up. I kind of know what's going on with Simon Boz and Jessica Cruz, but I just don't really pick it up on a month-to-month. So yeah, man, love, again, everything going back to the metal side. You have Green Lantern versus Green Lantern at this point in time. Man, great stuff, man, great stuff. So again, I don't want to give too much away on this on the storyline, but if you have not been picking them up, I suggest go pick it up. I think all the crossovers have been pretty good. What was the other one? Defending Gotham or something of that nature. But yeah, everything in regard to the metal has been pretty awesome in my opinion. Alright, next up we have New Superman. I think this is like part number 2 or 3 of this current Equilibrium storyline, and here, I think at the very end of the last one, we started getting a crossover with Justice League of America, kind of running into this Justice League of China that's been built around Kane Kong. So yeah, as I said before, this is a great alternate Superman, or if you're looking for like an alternate Superboy type of storyline, man, this one really fits that bill. Man, he's a great character. They've really started building up, I kind of see some similarity to Amadeus Cho, just in a sense, just kind of that cocky attitude that he kind of had. He kind of had to learn some humility, to kind of start picking up his powers. But yeah, man, great storyline, and anything with Justice League, I really love. So great crossover. All right, next up we have Flash. This is kicking off a new story arc, the Black Hole Rising. And this kind of gets back into this character. I forgot what her name was, but man, what was it? Mina. Yeah, so this character went all the way back to the Godspeed story arc, the very first story arc that kicked off this Flash storyline. So pretty cool, so they brought her back, and of course Flash is still dealing with his negative energy, trying to understand how to control it. Of course, Wally is there to try to assist him in his and learning this new force that he has here. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. Again, this negative speed force is really affecting Barry, at a psychological level. So yeah, I really love what they're doing in Flash. I think it's great to change it up every now and again. Alright, next up, Justice League of America. So, this started off pretty good, and then it kind of starting, the middle got, a lull, in my opinion. They went into the microverse, and, it seemed like that one kind of started off well, but kind of like fizzled out at the end, in my opinion. So I'm really on the fence of continuing this Justice League of America, in trade at this point in time. So Batman, of course, put this team together, and he left the team, I think, it was either the end of the last issue or something of that nature. So the team is kind of like, what do we do? They're trying to get to know each other a little bit better. I think to try to make a decision of what they do, this point forward without Batman. And Batman was kind of that core, kind of keeping them together. So yeah, so I'm going to kind of read through this one and see if the characters, by themselves is enough to kind of keep me interested. If not, I'm going to go to trade. I'm not going to give up the title altogether. I'm just going to go to trade. Okay, next up we have X-Men Gold, and this continues the Mojo worldwide storyline. I don't know how many parts. I think it was 6 if I recall that previews correctly. But, I really enjoy this Mojo storyline so far. I think it may read a little bit better in trade, to tell you the truth, but I think issue to issue has been pretty awesome. I really look forward to X-Men Blue, Gold, and, what is that third one that I love that's out there right now? I'll think about it a little bit later on. But, yeah, man, this Mojo world is great. He's really pitting him up against, all type of previous characters they've gone against, some of their own clan, as well. A lot of evil characters from the past that the X-Men have fought, along the decades. Man, I think this is a really cool storyline that they're doing here. Again, it's kind of broken up into 6 parts, but I think the storyline, moves enough for the month-to-month to still stay interesting. So yeah, X-Men Gold. Next up, Star Wars. So I believe this kicks off a brand new storyline, if I recall. Yep, part 1. Just my knowledge, I don't know too much about this new story arc, but I do know that the Rebels are kind of looking for a new base right now. Of course, this happens between episode number 4 and 5. So they just blew up the Death Star, or I guess we'll say like a couple months ago. And this also ties in, once Disney kind of took over the Star Wars franchise, they kind of wrote in a lot more of the Kyber crystals, kind of like as a power source for a lot of the Empire type of weapons that were out there, including the Death Star, that they never really, got into, they never really, touched on until Disney kind of picked them up. So this one kind of continues that to where, the Death Star is already gone, and the Empire is searching for the leftover Kyber crystals for, to power up new machines going forward. So yeah, man, pretty cool storyline. Willing to see what happens next, and I know Luke is getting a little bit more involved, looking for another Jedi. So yeah, Star Wars. Alright, so next up we have Royal City number 7. So I do not pick up Royal City. I really do like Jeff Lemire, but I think I went through Royal City number 1 and 2, and I don't know, it's just a little bit too slow for me. I know a lot of people like the storyline. I was going to try it out in trade, but man, the storyline didn't really interest me too much. I got this cover really this is a Weezer cover swipe, album swipe. And, this Weezer album came out in 1994. I have so many memories tied, to this album right here. I mean, I've listened to this album, 1,000 times over. So many, nostalgic memories tied to my freshman year in college. So I picked up this comic just for the damn cover, in this case. But, yeah, again, Jeff Lemire, I really like his storytelling. This one was just a little bit too slow, not what I expected, in regard to the Ghost and some other things that are kind of going on here in this title. Again, I was going to try to pick it up and trade and see if I enjoyed it a little bit more there, but I think I stopped at number 2 on this title. So yeah, Royal City. Alright, next up, we're getting into, the last one was Image, the second one from Image. This is Port of Earth, and this one sounded pretty cool, had a pretty cool concept. So Earth is like a trading hub, and I think this is in the future. I'm not sure how far off into the future this is. I don't see it on the first page, but many types of aliens are using Earth as a port, and I believe that they also have a lot of the alien technology for their engines is based upon water for fuel, and they're able to break it down into, for energy. So they refuel on our Earth, and there's one common port, and I believe that their security, that they're not really set up for aliens, and this is really how the Earthlings kind of deal with becoming that central trade hub of the universe. So yeah, man, it sounded like a pretty cool concept. I'd like to see if this is if it moves quickly enough to kind of keep my interest, but it sounded pretty cool concept up front. Okay, next up, a little comedy. We have Rock Candy Mountain. So I have really fallen for this writer here, Kyle Starks, and sometimes he does his own artwork, and sometimes he does not. His storytelling, the humor that Kyle Starks has, man, it really sits well with me. I think this guy is hilarious, man. I've run into, I think, maybe like 3 different titles from him now at this point in time. This Rock Candy Mountain is the only ongoing one that I know of from Kyle Starks, but man, I think this one's hilarious. So you have this hobo, there's this whole hobo underworld city, and basically it was this guy trying to fight to get to that point. This guy's, like an awesome fighter. No one could beat him. He's like one of the best fighters in the world. This gives a little bit, this current story arc kind of goes a little bit more into his history of, what he went through. Yeah, man, pretty cool stuff. If you're looking for humor, try this one out. Rock Candy Mountain. I believe Volume 1 trade came out a couple weeks ago, I believe. Okay, next up we have one from Action Lab, and this is Harcourt Legacy. This one sounded kind of interesting to me. I didn't pre-order this one, but I asked the comic book owner or one of the stores I go to, one of the LCSs I go to pull this one aside for me since I was going to be out in Boston. He did, and luckily he did, because I noticed that this one was sold out online. So in this title, my understanding of the overall premise of this, you have this man here who's on his deathbed, and he has been searching for real magic in the world, and he's been trying to get like a hold of this magic. I don't know if he saw something when he was younger and tried to just always seek it out his entire life, but I believe he figured something out, and he really wants to pass on this knowledge that he figured out. And I don't think he's figured out everything, but he wants to pass this on to his granddaughter. I think her name is Lily, I believe. And apparently either her mother or her grandmother has different plans for this knowledge. So yeah, this one sounded interesting. The artwork, I would give this artwork maybe like a 3.75 out of 5. But I don't really know the storyline too well, so I don't really know if the artwork goes with the storyline or not. But yeah, I'm going to read through this number 1, see if it holds my interest, and we'll see about number 2. Okay, next up, and this is by Boom Studios. This is Eugenic. So number 1 was pretty cool. I really like that concept. There's a lot of narration in number 1, but I think you needed it, in my opinion, which I think was the only negative comment I heard about that number 1. So number 1 is pretty cool. So you have this guy who has like a different concept of humanity going forward in the future. There's this huge virus that breaks out, and this guy is able to come up with a solution for the virus. But while he does that, he puts into like a little secret code in there. The entire world, got this vaccine. So everyone who had a baby going forward had like this genetic, defect, in their babies. And their babies, basically, he had a concept to get rid of beauty, to where every single human that was born looked completely different. So that was number 1, and at the end of number 1, like everyone died, and it kind of gave you the concept going forward. This one fast forwarded, I think, like 200 years into the future. So I'm not really sure what's going on, because not everyone has that defect that we saw in number 1, like this guy. So it seems like some humans got it and some did not. So there's only 3 parts to this issue. Issue number 1 already happened. This one was 200 years, I believe, into the future after number 1. And number 3 is going to be 200 years after this issue number 2. So yeah, I think that's a pretty cool concept, and really hoping that this number 2, is as interesting as the number 1 was. So yeah, Eugenic number 2. Okay, next up, this was a Kong / Planet of the Apes mix-up. This one did not interest me too much. I'm not too into the Planet of the Apes genre too much. I enjoyed the first original movies, but I think beyond that, it didn't really do it for me. But I thought it was pretty cool how they kind of brought the King Kong into this world, into the future Earth. I'm not really sure, but I was interested in seeing how Kong got to this, to the Planet of the Apes. And apparently this happens like the very next day after like Charlton Heston, goes off like, hey, you blew up everything, or whatever the hell he says. But yeah, so I really like the original one, and this was kind of like day 2 after that original movie came out, which I did enjoy, and I do like King Kong. So yeah, enough to see where this one goes, Okay, next up, still on the Boom Studio publisher, we have Grass Kings. So this is one to where, I really love the artwork. The storyline got just a little bit of a lull for me. And, overall, they're kind of searching for the serial killer, and, things start to unfold as the sleuthing kind of goes on. I think that I'm going to swap over to trade as soon as this current story arc is finished. I believe that last one had 4 issues, so I think I'm going to stop on number 12 and pick it up in trade after that. So yeah, Grass Kings. Okay, next up from Aftershock, we have Pestilence. So man, this title is like, man, 5 out of 5 for me. This one includes like everything that I love. It has the zombie genre, and it also has like the knights. So these are Knight Templars, and I love everything like Lord of the Rings, anything knight related, Dragonlance, things of that nature. So man, to go along with these two genres, we have phenomenal artwork in my opinion. Like super detailed, I give this one like a 4.75 out of 5 on the artwork side of things. I love this title, man. I think they did a stupendous job with this title here. You have the heroes here, I think they started out with like 8 or 9 in this band of brothers, and they kind of slowly die off as the storyline kind of goes on. They went to the Vatican to go retrieve the Pope. That didn't happen. That mission kind of failed. Now they're heading over to another city, and they're trying to get an object which they think will stop the zombie onslaught here. So yeah, man, if you like zombies, I think you should really give this title a try. Pestilence. Alright, next up, still on the Aftershock run, this is Normals, The Normals. So this is number 6. I think, I thought this was a pretty cool concept. You have, this is an old storyline, just told again. But you have a full family, husband, wife, and 2 kids. They are actually androids. They, had no clue that they were androids. Clues started kind of popping up on them. And they kind of went back to the lab that they were created in. You find out they've progressed like far beyond their programming. They were able, they started turning human, so to speak. They even had the ability to cry, and they were never physically even were supposed to be capable of crying. So yeah, they've kind of progressed on. The lab who created them, they're after them to try to shut them down. The doctor who created them, he's now dead. So there's a lot of unanswered answers for them. So yeah, the family's on the run. They're trying to figure this all out. And man, pretty cool, man. A lot of emotion. Pretty cool action that kind of happens in this as well. So yeah, check this one out. The Normals. Okay, next up we have Opeth. So this is a rock and roll biography. Opeth is a Swedish prog rock type of band, like a prog metal type of band. I don't know, for y'all who do like progressive metal, things of that nature, Opeth is pretty cool. I suggest you try to check them out. Very melodic, kind of like a Dream Theater, in a sense. But very melodic, but the lyrics are very, very dark at the same time, but it's not death metal by any means. It's very, very melodic. So yeah, man, if y'all are into that, check it out, Opeth. Last up for you guys, I have one from Valiant. This is the Harbinger Renegade. This is the number 0. So they're going back and they're kind of tying in. They have the Harbinger Wars coming out here pretty soon. I think it comes out next month. So this is supposed to kind of be like a prelude to the Harbinger Wars that's about to come out. So if you're planning on picking up the Harbinger Wars, a big Valiant crossover event that's about to happen, suggest that you pick up this title as well. So this one kind of gets back into a few, I think like 3 issues ago, you had, what was that evil Harbinger called? I think like the Warbringer, I think is what his name was. And, that happened like in, I don't know, like 500 BC or something like that. And you see his end, and he didn't die, but you just kind of see like, what happened to his character at the very end of it. And then they kind of got back into the current time, back in the Renegade, whatever number we are on, like number 8 or so. It didn't make any sense. I didn't know why they even introduced that guy, but apparently they're going to show him here, and he's going to tie into the current timeline. So yeah, man, if y'all are into the Sayat Harbinger World. Man, y'all need to pick up this number 0 before we get into the Harbinger Wars. So guys, that's going to be it for this week's brand new haul. Sorry it's a day late, and I think I'll have another back issue haul coming at y'all here pretty soon this weekend. So yeah, guys, thank you very much. If y'all like what y'all see here, please like and subscribe. Talk to you later.